Hello my brothers and sisters in nerdiness, welcome back to the Spider's Web, and in this video we are painting this little priest, this Gecko priest from One Page Rules Secrets of Tixal campaign. These are owned by Steve Dutton, who's appeared in a few of the videos in the past, and he's got these and really can't be bothered painting at the moment. He's lost all interest in it, we just hasn't got the heart for it, so I said I'd paint them for him. So yes, I've done myself a favour. This is in Carmine Red, one of the paints from Army Painter. They sent this along with quite a few in a box to review, free of charge, which is why the Army Painter logo is up there. So when you see that logo, it's a paint that they've sent me, not one that I bought. Angel Green. This is going the model from the top, whereas the red went from the bottom. On the underneath, the Carmine Red is acting as a shadow for the underside, and this is acting as the base coat for the top area. You'll see what I'm doing in a moment. Bullwhack Brown, I'll get this name right eventually, is being used here, and this is one that is being used on the underside. Now I'm just blasting air at the moment just to dry off some of the paint, but now we'll get into actually painting with the Bullwhack Brown, and this is going to be on the soft fleshy areas of the model, or of the Gecko, the belly and the underneath of the tail, and anywhere where there's no scales. That's what this paint is going to be, well, that's what this colour is being used for. It's a nice paint for the underside of lizards if you're painting them brown and green and that kind of thing, so I'd recommend it. CD palette coming out now because we're going to be using Hydra Turquoise, and this one is going to be a little bit time consuming, so I'm not showing all of this, but once we've got this on the CD palette, and I use these palettes because sometimes using a wet palette is a little too much. Where with this I want a nice fine brush, and what I'm doing is picking out every single scale. Yes, this Hydra Turquoise is being painted on all the scales. It's picking them out, and it contrasts nicely with the dark green from the Angel Green, and gives a nice effect. But as I say, it's very, very time consuming, so what we'll do is we'll just blink out here and continue later on in the process, because I don't want to bore you too much. So yeah, picking out all the scales. Sometimes some of the scales are a little bit tricky to get at individually, so we'll just sort of like brush over as though we're doing a dry brush, but as long as it's covered, doesn't matter. And well, as long as it's covered and we're not going over all of the green. Matte white next. This particular colour is going to be used for cloth areas and feathers. This is to give a bright underpainting, or base coat rather, for other colours to go over the top of. And you can see, I think this is the only bit of cloth that is on the model, which is just under the top of the staff. The rest of it is all feathers, and unfortunately I didn't actually learn from my previous experience with painting feathers on the last video we did, but I do learn towards the end of this. I get the idea that there's a better way of painting feathers, and we'll go through that when we get to it. But as I say, all feathers are getting painted white, all cloth is being painted white, and don't worry too much if you miss something when if you're painting minis and you miss something. Don't worry about it, because painting is all to do with making adjustments, so if you can always come back and paint, repaint it later on. Fire Lizard next. Now this colour is a really nice colour. It's not quite, what's the colour I'm thinking of? Burnt sienna, raw sienna. No, yellow ochre, that was the colour I was thinking of. It's not quite that. It's paler. It's more vivid, but it's a nice colour to use over the bulwark brown, and so it's like browns that have like a greenish tint to them. It's a really nice one to add highlights. Try and keep it though where you've got a moist or damp brush, because you don't want it to be really neat when you're doing things like this. You want something that's not going to be too harsh against the previous colour, and this fire lizard, I think it's called, is that kind of paint. It's a really nice paint to use, especially if you're using it to highlight like a colour like bulwark brown. We'll go over all the raised areas, any muscles and whatnot that's on that's going to be hit by light. That's what we're going to be using here, or that's what we're going to be using this colour for. And yeah, it's lovely, absolutely lovely colour to use. I would say it's like chartreuse, but it's not quite green enough to be that colour. It's a weird colour to try and describe, but it's as I say, it's a really nice colour. I'm doing the eyes as well with this colour. Now as you look at the right eye is quite easy to get at, even if it is small. The left eye, because he's holding his arm up with the staff, is very difficult to get to. Rough iron next. This one is going to be used as the base coat for metal. Not much metal on this. It's going to be the top of the staff, as I'm doing there, some of the rings on the staff, and any bracelets and metal areas that our priest is wearing. That's basically all the metal. So he has a metal ring around the base of his tail and bracelets. He's got this necklace thing and a couple of bracelets there as well, and there's the rings on the staff, and that's about it really, I think. But as I say, we'll just cover everything that is metal with this colour, and we'll go from there. For some reason I've painted the mask metal. I don't know whether I'm not sure whether I actually had forgotten that this wasn't metal, or that I'd painted it leather last time. I don't know, but we'll find out. Here's where I realised I've missed something, so I clean my brush out, go back into the white, and I paint a feather. Yes, as I say, it's just a case of making adjustments. I got a bit too much water on the brush when I was doing that, so wipe it all off and come back to it and do it again. Anywhere I've caught with the metal on the white, I'll cover that up as well. You can make these adjustments with acrylics and oils. You can't do it with watercolour if you're painting a picture, but you can do it with acrylics, you can do it with oil. For some reason I didn't show what this paint was, and I can't remember, but that one's Jasper Skin, and I wanted a nice browny red. Yeah. You need to shake your paints, which I didn't do when I was trying to put this Jasper Skin out. I decided just to try, and I forgot to shake it, or I didn't shake it enough, and the medium hadn't mixed with the paint enough, and it came out a little too watery. So remember, when you're painting with using these paints, shake, 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 shake. Go back, learn that little poem, and try and remember. Yeah, so we'll go with this on the belt, and I'm not too happy with the colour, so let's get a little bit of pure red out, shall we? Yes, let's have a try with this. Let's mix up a colour that we think is good enough for leather. Now, usually when you're watching my videos, or when you're watching videos, they'll show you all the, you know, the final bits where everything's gone smoothly. I show everything. or as much as I can anyway. I mean, obviously I don't show you when I'm cleaning my airbrush out or cleaning my brushes, or going through my paints to try and find one that I like the look of. But when it comes down to mixing paints and applying the paints, I try to show you everything. It may be fast forward, I may skip through some, but you do see what I'm doing. And if I don't like something, you know, or something goes wrong, you'll see it. Oak brown. I'm not happy with this particular thing of paint. So we've given it a shake. We've put a little bit out, and I've realised it's not shaken enough. So we'll wipe that off, and we'll go back to our little poem. Shaky, shaky, shaky. And we'll just give it a good shake. And what I usually do is recite that poem in some form of, it's not a set poem, I'll just say it as I'm going to do 4 lines of shaky, shaky, shake, 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 shaky, shake, you know, that kind of thing, and then put it out, and usually it's okay. So I mix this oak brown in with the colour that we've mixed. It's getting somewhere like what I'm looking for. Add a little bit more red, see if that helps. I'm looking for something that's like a fairly dark browny reddy colour, and yeah, I'm approaching it. So we'll get some on our brush ready to paint, and we'll go over the belt once more. And yes, it's looking right. It's looking how I want it, so happy with that. And any other leather pieces, because there's some areas where it's not metal, it's like a leather bracelet. I'll go over those here as well, so it's all done exactly the same. And once I've done that, and I'm happy, I'll rinse the brush out, go into the oak brown, and here is where we paint the wood on the staff. So the main shaft of the staff is wood, and then you've got the metal topper and a couple of protective rings, and the base of it is metal as well. But yeah, predominantly wood. So what next? Going into the metal again. I don't know why this keeps jumping. I don't know whether you see this or not, but as I'm editing and doing the voiceover rather, it looks as though it's jumping every now and again. Don't know what it is, but if it is doing that in the final video, I do apologise. Can't work out why. So that's what we've got so far. Let's go into pure red. After I clean the brush, we'll go into pure red, and we'll start doing the feathers. And this is where I say that I've not quite learned yet. I'm still painting feathers with proper paint, as it were, proper full acrylic paint. I'm not using anything different. So I mix some yellow into the red as well, and get like an orangey colour, make it quite watery, and that's when I decide, yes, what's the point of watering this down to such a degree when I have other paints I could use instead of doing this? But again, I still stick with doing this. I don't know why, but yeah, very watery red, very watery yellow, mixing it together to form like an orange in the middle. But we are working along quite nicely with these feathers, getting them to the stage where we want them. And turn the CD palette round, and we've learned holy whites now we're using. Yes, the penny has finally dropped. We're using holy whites. We're using speed paints to paint feathers. This works really well. For feathers, you've got the little crevices that the speed paint can get in, and you've got the little highlights or raised areas, and speed paint works wonderfully for this, and I'm sorry I've just gone off camera, but all I'm doing is painting the feathers on the head, on the mask and the headdress. As you can see there, I'm painting all of those feathers in this colour. And it looks grey on the palette, as you can see, but it does look like a very, it looks like a chewing gum white, a very, very, very pale grey, just an off white. It's not pure white. If it was pure white, we'll waste of time painting it, but it needs that difference in tone to make it stand out a little more. Now Grim Black, another speed paint. We are painting from feathers, and this is the point where I have actually thought, yeah, feathers I can do a lot easier with speed paint. So whenever I do feathers from now on, we'll be using speed paint. I'm just mixing some of the holy whites there, or spreading it out a little bit more because it's pooling, and I'm painting the tips of these headdress feathers in the black. We're going to have like a black and white feather on his headdress. It's a really nice finish. Oh, really nice effect to use for feathers. Highly recommend using speed paint for feathers. Yeah, it works well. It works well. And we're going to be using this holy white as well for this bit of cloth that is on the staff. Is it? Oh no, it's a feather. It's a feather that's on the staff. I thought it was a piece of cloth what I was using, but no, it's just a little feather. There we go. Wizard's Orb now. I should have realised this is the one I used for the cloth parts of the previous priest, so I'm going to use it for this priest as well. So we will paint this bit of cloth that is tied to the staff with this Wizard's Orb. Again, it's a nice shade of green, not quite turquoise but not quite green. I can't really say what colour it reminds me of, but it's there. Find some space now on the CD palette and we'll use this paint, whatever it may be. It's matte black. That wasn't matte black, was it? No, this is matte black that's going in. Why do I keep forgetting to show what paint it is? Don't know. But that paint that I've just put down, that was dark stone. I've gone on to doing the base now, so we'll paint the stone that he stood on black, and all the base that isn't vegetation, we'll paint it all black where it's flagstones and hard surface. And once that's dry, we'll go over with the dark stone. I should have realised that was dark stone, but as I said, it's been a few days since I actually edited this and couldn't remember what colour it was, but I worked it out as I was editing. Dirt splatter now. Give the black a chance to dry. We'll use dirt splatter to go over the vegetation areas. So that gives a brown, nice brown effect, or a nice brown background that looks very earthy. And we'll do that, and as I say, give the black a chance to dry. Now we'll come along with the dark stone and paint the raised areas of the where he's actually stood. There's very detailed bases. I quite like the bases, and I quite like the minis. They are very, very detailed, and they're an absolute pleasure to paint. We're mixing some white in with the dark stone to make a greyish brown colour, and looking nice, and painting over individual little cobblestones there, just to pick up some detail. because you don't want it all looking monotonous. Elf green now. With this we are dry brushing over the vegetation. I'll get the word right eventually. We dry brush, kind of like a dry brush over the vegetation that looks as though it's trampled, just to give it a little bit of a difference in look. And back into the dark stone, and we will paint round the edge of the base. I don't believe that bases should always be painted black. In some cases a nice brown colour works well. Plate mail metal next, and this, as you might have guessed, is going over the metal areas that we've already painted with the rough iron. We don't want too much, and we're certainly not covering every little thing. It's just like a dry brush over it to pick out raised areas, and then when we get round to the bracelets and the rings and whatever, we will just do areas where it's going to be hit by light, you know, the upper areas, and then we can fade it down into the rough iron so it looks as though there's shadow there. It gives a good effect once you've worked out how to do it. Now let's go into red. What are we doing here? I can't remember. Oh yes, this is where we do, there's like a pipe or something, tubing or wiring that goes from his belt thing to the staff. Don't know what it is. Can't remember what that was. Was that the dirt splatter? We're just putting little bits of that here and there. Make your own thing up. You don't necessarily have to do everything the way I have, and I'm clumsy bugger. I've just dropped the whole thing into the paints, but it's acrylic paint, it can wipe off, and in this case it's actually done me a favour by adding a little bit more texture. Anyway, if you've liked this video, please like the video and subscribe if you found it useful. Ring the bell to get notified of any future videos, and if you feel like helping the channel a little bit more, you can always sign up to our Patreon or the Buy Me a Coffee as well. You can do either one of those. Any little help you can give to the channel is greatly appreciated. But as it stands, this is getting very near the end of the video. We're using some of the gold there to just add a little bit more to the metal areas. But as I said, it's coming to the end of the video. I hope it's helped give you some inspiration on painting these if you've got them, or painting in general. But until next time, as always, stay safe and take care. God bless, and bye for now.